Very pleased to have with us on the program tonight Todd Rather from the T. Jeffrey Safari Company. I have two T. Jeffrey Safari Company hats. I'll have to pull them out before St. Louis. Todd, how you doing tonight, sir?
Great, Ken. How are you?
I am good. Thanks for coming on the program tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You are also a member of the NRA's Board of Directors, I should point out. But tonight I want to talk to you in your capacity as the operator of T. Jeffrey Safari Company because we have seen the animal rights activists try to start I guess a bit of a controversy here over Donald Trump's sons going on safari in Africa. PETA says that there are better ways that the Trump sons could have helped the African villagers. They pointed out that, when they went on their hunt, the village in Africa where they were hunting was the beneficiary of the game that they took. I got to ask, Todd, how important, first of all, generally speaking, are hunters to the local communities there in Africa, whether it's Zimbabwe, where the Trump sons were hunting, or other countries?
Well, it's extremely important, Cam. First of all, I think that the reaction from Donald Trump's sons has been excellent. They've defended their position. They've done it in a very good way for folks that are just, they're just regular hunters. Yes, they go to Africa, and yes, they've got a lot of money, but they're average hunters. They're business people. They're not people that defend hunting on a daily basis. They're not people that are forced to defend hunting on a daily basis, and they're not in the arena that we're in, where we're forced to defend hunting and gun ownership every single day. And I think they're doing a great job of sticking up for hunters and saying the right things and explaining their position while not shying away from it and saying, and doing some mea culpa like we see celebrities and politicians and everything else do, take an apology tour or something. So I'm proud that they are standing up for what is right, because it is right. And without regulated sport hunting in most of the southern African countries, there would be almost no outside money coming in other than money for minerals and things like that, gold and diamonds and minerals and things like that. But in terms of tourism, the hunting industry brings in way more money into all of these countries. And a place like Zimbabwe, where we see unbelievable hyperinflation over the past, 6, 8, 10 years, where they've inflated the Zimbabwe currency to the point that they were literally issuing trillion-dollar bills.
Right.
And where it took $1 trillion to go and buy a loaf of bread. They destroyed a country that was the breadbasket of Africa, where Zimbabwe was where all of the most productive farms were, and all of the best game and all of this, and the country's been destroyed by the government. And regulated sport hunting is the only consistent source of regular income in terms of cash that goes to local communities. And part of what goes on is what people have to understand is in these places, many of these people that live there are extremely desperate to feed their families. And so to them, to kill, 10 buffalo in order to dry it and be able to feed a village for X number of months is not a big deal. They have no compunction about poaching, because to them it's not poaching, it's feeding their family.
Right.
And so they don't, it's not like the United States where, if you didn't have sport hunters, you could regulate these areas, but you just can't regulate them because people need to feed their families. So they would go out and poach. And so now what happens in these countries is when hunters go in there, whether they're doing a $7,000 safari in South Africa or a $50,000 safari or a $100,000 one in Tanzania, a certain amount of that money goes to the local community on top of the meat. It's not just the meat and all of the parts of the animal that go to the community. A certain amount of money goes to the community. And furthermore, it stimulates the economy to have these hunters, American hunters, come in. Most of them pay in at least half in cash, And so it injects cash into their economy, and it's one of the most reliable sources of cash for their economy. But when you monetize the game there, where there is no control, and people don't follow the laws because they have to feed their families, if they monetize the game and they say to the local community, look, we can get a $3,000 trophy fee for a buffalo, and we can split that with the community, and we can also give you the meat on top of that, then the community has an interest, a monetary and survival interest in protecting those animals from poaching. And so that when people try to come and poach, the local community polices them and sometimes kills them if they try to poach because it's a threat to their very existence. And so in countries like Zimbabwe, where you've got complete chaos, you don't have a government that's in control, these things work extremely well to not only to feed communities, but to inject cash into the local economy, and it employs a bunch of people too. I mean, the folks that they've got trackers, they've got drivers, they've got people that are skinners, they've got people that serve food and are mechanics and do all kinds of things. All these people are paid, and then most of them are paid in cash. So it injects cash, real cash, into the economy instead of the Zimbabwe dollar that's been inflated into ridiculousness.
The monopoly money, in essence.
Yeah. I mean, I saw on eBay the other day. I was looking at coins and at currency, and somebody was selling a $1 trillion bill for $2 or $3 on eBay.
Wow.
And it's just, I mean, it's worthless. The money is absolutely worthless, and they keep creating new series of currencies over there, and this idea that they're either damaging the environment or causing some kind of a problem for the animals over there is absolutely insane. When you look at a country like Kenya that outlawed regulated sport hunting in the 70s, and you look at the poaching that goes on and the elephant population that's in decline in Kenya, where they don't have regulated sport hunting, and go right next door to Tanzania where they do have regulated sport hunting, and they've got an explosion in the elephant population. How do you explain that? The only difference is the fact that in Tanzania you're allowed to hunt for a certain amount of money. You can go in and you can shoot an elephant, and a certain amount of that money must go to elephant conservation. In Kenya, you have people that come in and take photographs, and then when the tourists are gone, the poachers go out and shoot the animals because they want to feed their families because they're so poor and poverty-stricken.
You know, it's Todd, I want to read to you a quote here from the ABC News story here. Many people accuse the men of hunting exotic animals that wildlife conservation groups are working hard to protect. And, what you're talking about here, I mean, we see the images of, save the elephants, protect the elephants, and then you see a story about the Trump sons going out and shooting an elephant. People don't, I think most people... and I think this really plays well for the animal rights activists. They don't have an idea of the local politics and what is going on in these individual countries. I think a lot of people just think Africa, elephants, got to protect them, and the best way to do that is to not hunt them. What you're actually talking about is, explaining what these villagers are going through every day of their lives and how hunting benefits them. And I think if you can actually explain this to people, they get it. But the animal rights activists, I think they have a lot of emotion on their side right now.
They do, and I mean, because it's the Trumps, it's a big target, and,
right.
And that's another reason that I think that it's great that they are speaking out. I think that the NRA is working on some ways to get the message out. I mean, obviously, your show is certainly a way to get to a lot of people, and I think that the NRA in general is trying to get the message out and talk about this, and I think that's a good thing because people don't understand it when they begin to understand it, a light bulb goes on. If PETA went into one of these villages and had this discussion with the local villagers, they'd probably string them up in a tree because they would be so angry that they were going to take away their primary source of income, their primary source of protein for their children, and it's their connection to the outside world. I mean, when you go to these places and you see, I mean, I remember a very specific incident in Namibia in 2008 when I shot a buffalo, and by law we have to turn over the meat to the local community. Mm-hmm. And when I saw the children that were going to get to eat this meat, and we helped. I mean, even as the paying hunter, I helped to load the meat up and to bring it to the community. And the smiles on their faces and the gratitude that they showed was unbelievable. But they also got a chunk of my money because I had to pay a significant trophy fee, and then they get a part of that. And they were building schoolhouses. They were drilling additional wells in the area so they can get clean drinking water because the water has been polluted there. I mean, and people that, they talk about these animals as if they're rare. The population of elephants in Zimbabwe is tremendous. The government has absolutely no control over the people. The PHs and the outfitters that are on the ground there have had to implement cull hunts where they go in and they shoot numerous elephants in order to make sure that that they don't exceed the carrying capacity, because elephants can come in and decimate an area in a matter of days. I mean, they eat some hundreds of pounds of forage every day, and so they can come in and decimate an area in no time, and so they have to cull them. And to say that leopards and what were the other animals? There was leopard, kudu, waterbuck, a civet cat, and elephants, and buffalo, which were sort of
and a crocodile, I believe,
and a croc, and they were featured animals. I mean, there's no shortage of any one of those animals. Every one of them is, when you've got as many buffalo as they've got in Zimbabwe, the leopards, the crocs, and the lions are eating well. The kudu is not endangered anywhere, in especially not in Zimbabwe. Leopards are definitely not in danger, and neither are the elephants. Not in any way in that part of Africa. And so all of what they're talking about is insanity. What PETA is talking about is insane. And I'm telling you, the people in these communities that benefit from regulated sport hunting would be absolutely baffled and enraged by what PETA is doing, because it directly affects their ability to survive, and it directly affects their livelihood.
Well, absolutely, and I got to say, again, I think it's arrogant of the animal rights activists to make these statements and presume that they know what is best for these villagers who are living in Zimbabwe or Tanzania or anywhere else. Given that they bring their own bias to the table, they would, I'm sure, prefer trucking in soy products for these villagers and having the Trumps pay for these soy products and the tofurkey as opposed to actually going and being able to, as you say, get good protein and, frankly, be able to be self-sufficient. I mean, I think that's a huge component of this. Is basically what PETA and the animal rights activists are saying is that these villagers in Africa, whether it's Zimbabwe or Tanzania or elsewhere, should not be self-sufficient. They should be dependent on the largesse of the Trump sons, as opposed to actually being businessmen and doing a job and getting money for this.
Right, that's absolutely true. The folks in these communities, they come out and they drive trucks, they repair the trucks, they set up tents, they break down tents, they repair equipment, they do all kinds of jobs that they get paid cash for, and that support their families. And no, they're not going to become millionaires doing this. But they're living their lives the way they want to in the bush, because they live in the bush, and they get to live their lives the way that they want to. They don't have to go into a big city like Harare or in Tanzania and Dar es Salaam, and live in a big city and be subject to the crime and the poverty that's in the inner cities of these African countries. That is just absolutely devastating when you see it. They're living out in the bush. They're living off the land to the degree that they can, and they're living the lifestyle that they want. And I could almost guarantee you that if and they have pride in what they do, and well, they should, because they do a good job. When you can when you can repair a truck out in the middle of nowhere, out in the bush, the way that a lot of these guys do, they ought to be proud of what they can do. But if the Trumps had shown up with a bunch of tofu and tofurkey, as you said, I can almost guarantee you the Africans would dump it in the river.
Well, listen, Todd, I am glad you could join us on the program tonight, sir. We will see you in St. Louis, Missouri, less than a month from tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. just made my travel arrangements recently, and I'm excited and can't wait to see the whole NRA family.
It is. It's going to be fantastic. I'm hoping for another record. We broke the record for the largest convention held in St. Louis when the NRA was there back in 2007. I'd love to break the old record.
Yeah, that would be great, and I think this is the year to do it too. I mean, as we all know, this is probably the most. I know we say it all the time, but it's probably the most important election year in our lifetimes. And to get the NRA message out to as many people as possible and have them go home and take it to their friends is going to be very important. Whether it's the presidential race, the Senate, the House, or even local races, every single race counts. Because there are some people that are trying to destroy this country, and we've got to stop them.
Absolutely. Todd Rather with the T. Jeffrey Safari Company, member of the NRA's Board of Directors, joining us tonight on Cam and Company. Thanks again, Todd. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Cam. Take care.